Hey everyone, it's Sandy Peckinpah joining you live on this Thursday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. Welcome. Somebody just came on, but it didn't show who. Oh, Jamie. Hey, nice to see you. Boy, you got some beautiful jewelry coming up these days. The pictures are fantastic. If you don't follow Jamie, please do. She's got some fantastic jewelry. Julia, yay. You're so welcome. Brad, welcome. So glad you're here. We're going to be talking about the keys to your creative kingdom. Ship it. Number one. I wonder what you ship. That would be interesting to know. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be talking. Hello. Welcome. We had, such a good conversation yesterday. We had Shavana and I did an impromptu Periscope, and it's always fun to do it with Shavana because we give you our perspective from two different points of view, from me as a writer and from Shavana as a therapist. It's a betting term I use when I win ship it. Oh, okay. You play poker. Wow. And that's a game that fascinates me, but I'm scared to death to learn. It is. It's a wow. And you know what? We have one of the largest casinos here in Southern California, Pechanga, and I have several friends who love going there and do gaming, but I just, I don't know. I'm just not a gambler at heart. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the keys to your creative kingdom because I think so many people think that they're waiting to be inspired, that they're waiting for inspiration. Well, I have some information for you today about that, because guess what? What if I told you that your inspiration is actually waiting on you? Would that be an interesting concept? Jamie, you're an inspired person. You create jewelry. Do you wait for a piece of jewelry to inspire you, or do you make a commitment to be inspired? And that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, thank you for the hearts. If you're not following me, I'm Sandy Peckinpah. I've been doing Periscope since 2015, September of 2015. So I have a lot of shows under my belt. I over 350, I think, or something like that. And I'm so proud of it because it's been a commitment for me to do that many and to show up here every week. It is a commitment to my commitment to you. And what I love is what it's taught me. And being this diligent and being on Periscope for as long as I've been in Periscope, I have some information for you. Jamie says she looks for inspiration. Oh, you're looking for inspiration. You're open to it. I want it. Okay, great. Mike, welcome. I'm sure you've touched people's hearts. Wow, thank you. What a nice thing to say. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, I'll tell you, for those of you who don't know me, I'll give you a little quick, 30-second description. I'm an author. I'm a writer. I've written 4 books I'm really, really proud of. All 4 of them have a special place in my heart, and especially the last one I wrote called How to Survive the Worst That Can Happen, and it is based on my experience of losing my 16-year-old son to meningitis. And I'm proud to say that it's helped a lot of people going through loss, and I know some people are on this broadcast that know what that's like. And it has helped me get out there and share what I do best, and that is to continue to write and hopefully inspire people, but also uplift. And what I get from you is that the feedback that I get on these broadcasts that I've been doing now for 2 years is that you inspire me. So we're going to be talking about inspiration. We're going to be talking about the keys to your creative kingdom and what that looks like, because creativity is in all walks of life. It is not just for the arts. Creativity is the right side of your brain. It's the part of your brain that gets you out of troubling situations. It's the part of you that figures out how to get bills paid when your bank account is low. It's the part of you that tells you how you need to schedule your day to make everything work. It's the part of you that gets you up in the morning and going and say, what does my day look like today? Creativity plays a huge role in your success in life. Cynthia, welcome. Cynthia is a creative person. She's a blogger. She does it regularly. She writes, and she does it beautifully. Jamie is a jeweler. She creates jewelry. She does it regularly. I write books. I am passionate about it. I'm also passionate about my professional career. And I am a real estate agent. I've been doing it since 2003. I have been very successful at it, and I'm really proud of my career. What did it take to become successful? Creativity. I guarantee you, creativity is one of the most important factors in success in life. And if you don't schedule time for your creativity, we're going to talk about how to do that on this broadcast. Mark Cuban was recently interviewed, and for those of you who know Mark Cuban, he's on Shark Tank and owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and he's an extremely successful person. And he talks about the role of creativity in people's lives and says that he sees a time coming when liberal arts will be a very important part of establishing a career. And so he's looking at the creative arts, the liberal arts, all of those things are play an important role in how you're going to be creating your life. So you see how creativity is not just for artists, not just for writers. It is in all walks of life. And I promise you that the reason that I have been successful in my professional career is because of creativity. Because when one avenue doesn't work, I discover another way, another path to take, another way to structure my business that makes it successful. And, you know, there was a time in my life when I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I suddenly had lost an income that I thought I had. It was a difficult time in my life, and I thought that I had this income for life. Oh my gosh, Grow by Doing is here, and Callie, let's see. Hello, Callie, welcome. Okay, great. I'm so glad that you're back. There was a time in my life when I thought I had it all figured out, that I would have a certain income for the rest of my life, and that was in the year 2000. And then suddenly, by 2002, I discovered that I didn't have it together at all, and the income that I thought I was going to have didn't happen. And so I had to get creative with my life. I had to look at my options. What was next in my life? And what I discovered was a huge capability within me to figure out what was next. And for those of you who think that you're not creative or you can't figure it out, I'm telling you, you have resilience inside of you that is untapped. You think you only have a certain amount? I promise you, you've got more. No matter what you think you have or that you have reached your limits, you've got more. Ask Fizz Bubbles. She's on here. You're clueless? Well, we're going to be talking about it. Trisha is Fizz Bubbles, and she just retweeted this broadcast. Thank you, Trisha. Ask Trisha what it's like to be resilient. Trisha is a 100% disabled veteran, and she had a brain injury, a traumatic brain injury, and she had to reinvent her whole life. What has she done? She's created a magnificent business, creating beautiful soaps and body lotions, and she has a successful business online. Do you think that when she didn't think she had one career that she was capable of starting another? I'm sure it scared the living daylights out of her, didn't it, Trisha? And she figured it out. A friend of mine told me, Sandy, you will never have to worry about money because you will never run out of ideas. And I promise you, you will never run out of ideas. It scared you to death, right, Trisha? You see, she is a remarkable woman. She figured out that all she had to do was take what she already knew, and take the next step. She took recipes. She was a Marine 24/7. Look at that. Look, if you're not following Trisha, please follow Trisha. She is an inspiration. She broadcasts regularly on Periscope. And we connected on Periscope. Do you see the power of this medium to connect lives and to inspire people and to uplift people? I have been so inspired by people that broadcast on a regular basis, and I am so grateful for this medium because it is amazing. I began in September of 2015 to broadcast, and I have never stopped. Oh, Trisha, I encouraged you. I'm so glad. And, what Periscope did for me was challenge me to increase my output, to increase my writing, to increase my ability to create, because I came up with a show every single day. And now you're published on Mind Body Network. Trisha, I am so darn proud of you. I hope you will send me the link because I am so darn proud of you. I actually believe that I've read one of your blogs. And yes, thank you, my dear. So, okay. So, inspiration. Let's get to the topic in a way that will be meaningful to you and help you understand how this works. Inspiration is like fueling a fire. You have to lay the Kindle. You have to lay the paper, the Kindle on top of the paper, and then you put the wood on top. But the fire does not light itself. You can stare at that fireplace all day long, or that campfire, or that wood-burning fire out in your backyard. You can stare at it all day long. But unless you strike the match, it is not going to start. And sometimes you strike the match and you touch the paper, and what happens? It fizzles out. Inspiration is 99% perspiration and 1% luck. I agree. Julia, I'm so glad you're here. She's leading an inspired life. We have people on this broadcast that I have watched literally turn their lives around since I've been broadcasting in 2015. They open their hearts and their minds to something new, and they're doing, and I learn from them. So what happens when you strike the match and it fizzles out? Do you just give up? Oh, I am so glad. Thank you. Thank you so much. It feels so good to know that something that I've said has made a difference. I am so grateful. It fuels me. Let's talk about fuel. Yes, Jamie, you try again. When you touch the paper and it doesn't start, what happens? You try again. It fizzles out. You might have to strike that match 2 or 3 times. And until it actually starts burning, you don't give up. All you have to do is take the very next step. And this is a perfect metaphor for writing or doing anything creative. And remember what I said, creativity is not just for the arts. It's for your business. It's for your career. It's for your life. It's for how you parent. It's how you organize your house. Yes, faith without doubt. You have faith that you just keep lighting that match until it starts to burn. You can create the ideas. You can lay the groundwork. So maybe the ideas are the paper. Maybe the groundwork is the Kindle and the wood on top. But it won't start. The fire won't start until you make what? One thing. A commitment. A commitment. Do you see how that works? You've got all of the groundwork laid out there. But if you haven't made a commitment to yourself, it's not going to happen. My late husband, David Peckinpah, was a shining example of a writer who wrote no matter what. He was a television and film writer and producer for television and film. He wrote every single day, even on weekends. The show had to go on, right? If he didn't write, next week's show wouldn't go into production. The directors, the actors, all of the people, the electricians, the grips, the cameramen, everybody was waiting on David Peckinpah to finish that script. And so he wrote practically every day for 26 years, I promise you. Because why? Because once he lit the fire of writing, the fire of creativity inside of him, it was something that he needed to do because it felt good. When you're on fire, nothing feels better than waking up in the morning and being excited about what you do. You're so glad the show had to go on. He was good. He was good. He was a brilliant writer. The show had to go on, and he had a lot on the line with his writing. He had to make sure that that script was ready for production. And besides that, it was the sole support of our family. He had a show to produce for many reasons, and that meant that he had to make a commitment to write. But it wasn't always the obligation that drove him. It was his sheer love of writing, his passion for what he did. And I would see him come home night after night with that writer's high that he wore on his face. And I promise you, there is nothing more attractive than having the creative high. I catch fire, then stop, drop, and roll. I'm afraid of committing. No clue why. Well, yes, and it was his purpose, Jamie. You know, that's an interesting thing. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes fear stops us in our tracks. And actually, I'll talk about that in a few minutes, okay? So it was his writer's high. It was that glow of creative fulfillment that I would see on his face. And you know what else? He never gave himself a backup plan. You know, there's that analogy that actually was a true story about burning the boats. You know the burning the boats story. About the, you know what, and I don't want to repeat the story because I need it in front of me to repeat it. But basically, when Mexico was, who was the Spanish explorer that did it? I can't remember his name. But anyway, he gave, when he got to shore in Mexico, he said, burn the boats. And they said, why? And he said, because we don't have a backup plan. We're gonna win this. Torch the ship, so they had no choice but to win. Thank you. You explained it much better than I did. David Peckinpah, my late husband, never gave himself a backup plan or a way out. He chose writing, and he stuck with it until the day he died in 2006. I wondered, did I ever love writing like that? Well, I wasn't sure. In fact, I wasn't even sure I could write on my own because I'd spent so many years working with him, writing with him, creating stories and characters with him. I was his feedback. I was his character development because I had studied acting. I was an actress. And I studied acting and I learned a lot about character development, which fueled his ability to create characters. And I know that my role was very strong. But I feared writing on my own. I would get started and I'd think, oh yeah, I can do this. And then when I would sit down and do it, I would back out just like you, stop, drop, and roll. I wasn't sure I could write on my own. And I never called myself a writer. In fact, I was afraid, even after my first book, to call myself a writer, and my first book did very well. It was published by Scholars Press, and it went out there in the world, and I got on every television talk show there was and was in magazines and radio shows, and so proud of that accomplishment. But I was never able to call myself a writer because I knew the head game I was playing with myself. Am I really a writer? What I was lacking, and this is what I hope, thank you for joining me, who just came on, and I'm sorry, the messenger, I think. I appreciate you joining the broadcast. We talked a lot about creativity in the first part of this broadcast, and I hope you have a chance to go back and rewatch it. And you know what? If you know someone who will benefit from this broadcast, please feel like sharing. If you do, great. Ironically, most creatives are plagued with self-doubt. That is so true. And guess what it is? The fraud syndrome. And there's not one of us who haven't felt like a fraud. You know, I actually carried that feeling into my professional life for the longest time. There are times when my doubt comes in and it happens again and again. It's a head game. And yeah, Jamie, exactly. And it wasn't until 2013 that I began my fourth book that I discovered something new that helps you. It's the power of mindset and the power of ritual in making the commitment to your creative life. I began scheduling my writing time and my commitment in my calendar. It was a brand new commitment demanding a brand new me, because my first 3 books I just wrote when I felt inspired. And I suspect that's why I felt like a fraud, because I wasn't committed to it. Mindset and ritual, that's right. Making a mindset and a ritual helps you stay committed to your creative path. You know, there's even a mindset and a ritual every day that I walk into an office in my professional life. It's why I have been successful in my professional life, because I have a mindset and a commitment every morning when I walk into that office. And in my writing, which is my passionate life, my passionate career, because I don't make my living as a writer, but that commitment comes into writing and fuels me. Now, in 2013, when I decided I was going to write my fourth book, I committed to writing between 4 and 8 every single day. Part of that ritual is coffee, Cynthia. That's right. Hello? Yeah. Between 4 and 8 p.m. every night. And there were times when client appointments interfered, but I stuck to my schedule as best I could. Fixter 1907, welcome. I stuck to my schedule. And you're an Earl Grey fan yourself. Well, whatever it takes, you create a ritual. And when you create a ritual and you schedule it, guess what happens? It suddenly becomes a habit. And habits can make up 40% of our lives. And when writing becomes a habit, you can add on to that. However percentage you want to add on to that, when it becomes a habit, I promise you, your creativity will soar. Your business will soar. Your writing will soar. Your career will soar. Because when you create a ritual around your commitment, you have step 1, step 2, step 3, and you launch what you're going to do. I began my book in February with a commitment and a ritual, and I completed my first draft by June. I spent a month letting it marinate, because that's what I do. And then I began the editing process. By September, I mailed off my draft to my publisher. There were rounds of connections and galley corrections, and then the addition of the foreword by my best friend, Melissa. And I had a published copy of my book in hand in 1 year. Welcome. This is your first day on Periscope. Periscope is telling me. So it was 1 year. Routine and schedule, Jamie. That's right. Routine and schedule. And that book, which I'm very, very proud of, I'll show you, is this book. And you know what? This is one of my best, and I am really proud of it. And I won awards. I have awards, 8 awards. Why? Because I wrote this book from a new perspective, and that was that I was a writer and I had a message to share in my work. And I made a strong commitment with a ritual. And that year of writing my book, from beginning to publication in hand, taught me that creativity is as much about the commitment as the inspiration. And along the way, I discovered the writer's high. Because inspiration alone does not make your creativity happen. Oh, one of my favorite people is here. 8 Fry. 8 Fry, I hope you go back and watch this broadcast. Who asked how old I am? For heaven's sakes. The years don't matter. But one thing that I love is my age. And my age has taught me that I have the gift of hindsight. And wisdom is hindsight reborn. Timeless is so true. Thank you. I discovered my writer's high, and I remembered it on the face of my late husband, and I knew when I had it. I knew what he caught early on in his career, because his commitment was so strong that it was his passion for his creative life. And no longer was writing a burden. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. An old soul with a useful spirit. Well, I appreciate that, both of those comments. Inspiration alone does not make creativity happen. It's the commitment to your creativity that fuels your inspiration. And so what is commitment? A commitment is telling your mind that you will do this and make a strategic plan. It's committing to a time, a place, and an end date. So all 3 of those things were part of my creative success, and part of your creative success is to make a strategic plan with a time, a place, and an end date. And so what happens when you do that? Well, all you're responsible for is the very next step. And what does that look like? For me, it was sitting down to write. That was the very next step. And it's sitting down to do it even though you don't feel like it. Oh, I have chills. Thank you. I gave you the missing piece. Oh, bless you. I have chills. Thank you. When you sit down to do it, even though you don't feel like it, it's telling yourself, you are a writer, you are a creator, whatever it is that you're doing, you are committed to your job, you are committed to your profession, whichever of those things applies to you. You are committed to your new job. Maybe you've just created a new life. Maybe you're a new entrepreneur. The moment you give yourself a commitment, is the moment that you've changed your life. What's my favorite way to get inspired? My favorite way to get inspired is to read the work of other people. In fact, I have a new book. I was part of the launch team. Cynthia, I bet you were part of this launch team too. In fact, I know you were. I'm 100% sure you were. I just got this in the mail. Real Artists Don't Starve. Jeff Goins, one of my favorite writers, because he writes about writing and creativity. Yes, you were. So one of my favorite ways to get inspired, as 8Fry asked, is to read other people's works. Now, how did my husband get inspired? He would write letters to people, handwritten letters. And in fact, when I was in LA these last few days, visiting my son had a folder with all kinds of things that David had written to him. He would write letters whether he saw people every day or not. Just thoughts. People all over the world have letters from David Peckinpah, because that was how he started his writing ritual. Usually a cup of coffee and a handwritten letter. For me, as I told you, it's reading other people's works. Sometimes it's music, but for me, my ritual is very specific. My ritual is a cup of coffee, usually a cappuccino. Here you go. And it's putting on music. It's lighting a candle. It's saying a prayer. And then I'm ready. And I sit down and I start writing, even if I can't figure out what to write. I start writing what the first thing that comes in my head. I start saying things like, oh, I don't know what to write about today, but today, I met a really interesting person. And so sometimes it'll start out just journaling if I can't get the writing going on my book. And I am writing my 5th book right now. And in fact, I'm finished with the first draft. I'm letting it marinate, and I'm about to start the first set of edits. I enjoy free flow. Yes, I do. So, what is commitment? It's telling your mind you will do this and making a strategic plan. And it's as simple as I just described. I don't know why it took so long for me to get that part. I'd written 3 books until I wrote my 4th book. And yet I still couldn't call myself a writer. And I think it was because of the commitment. And now when people ask what I do, I say I'm a writer. And the second thing that I tell them is, and my profession is a real estate agent with Coldwell Banker. My passion career is writing. There's with Jeff Goins, who wrote this book. He said that he said to a friend early on, "Oh, I just want to be a writer." And his friend replied, "You are a writer, Jeff. You just have to write." And that's what I'm telling you. Whatever it is you want to be, own it and just do it. Took you 37 years and would have taken who knows how many more without Sandy sharing her passion. Ah! Thank you. You're going to make me cry. And that's why I'm here. Because I believe that I am here to share my story so that you get to share your story and find what it is that fuels you. I believe that with all my heart. When Jeff Goins said that, you are a writer, you just have to write. Wow, that was the difference. Even though I'd published 3 other books, I never felt like a writer because I hadn't made a commitment. My commitment was constantly wavering, and it took me years to finish those first 3 books. But I finally hit my stride once I made a commitment to my creativity in the form of a strategic plan, making a date, making a ritual, and doing it. And I wear my badge of honor as writer with pride. Because I am a writer, and I do write every single day. And I know what it was that my beautiful late husband had inside of him, and that was that passionate commitment. No, I haven't announced the title. But I will when it goes to the publisher. I write every single day, and I get that writer's high every single day, and it fuels me. And there's nothing that keeps me younger at heart than living my passion. And for me, now, as a committed writer, all it takes is just one sentence. I just sit down and write. I do my ritual because I love it, but I sit down and write. And it feels so good. You look at what you don't know and feel dumb or feel brilliant for learning so much. Yeah. And we continue to learn, and I want to always be a vessel of learning from other people and being inspired from other people, which is why I read so many books. Because reading other books also fuels me. That's the kindle in my fire. It helps me get started. And that is my broadcast today, my friends. I am so grateful for your support and your inspiration, because without you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, and that is being married to my passion. Little kids never feel ashamed in not knowing. They embrace curiosity. That's a great point. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, you have a great inspired weekend. As a mom, you know, they always asked why. Oh yes, why was a big question. And you never want to say because I said so. I learned, it's so nice to meet you too. Thank you. Great. I am so glad. And if you think this broadcast might benefit somebody that you know, please share it. You know, this is what I'm saying about creativity, is that don't take it for granted. Don't assume that it's just for a chosen few. Creativity is in all walks of life. It's what saved me when I was at a crossroads in the year 2000. I had to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Yeah. So I hope that this helped inspire you to get a strategic plan, a commitment, and a ritual. Oh, you did. That's right. Who was that? Was it Michael Cinquino or Bonnie Frank or somebody? I wonder, 8 Fry. I can't remember. But, I learn from you all the time, 8 Fry. You are brilliant. You have wisdom beyond your years, that's for sure. God gave it to everyone. Yeah, Julia. That's right. Oh, Kim, okay. Great. All right. Creativity, yes. All right, I hope you all have a creativity high this weekend. And all it takes is just taking the very next step, and that's creating a strategic plan and a commitment. All right, my friends, have a great weekend.